Good evening and welcome again to the Marty Heiser Show. We've got an incredible show tonight. Incredible. We have athletic luminaries here. We have a young man that is going to bring a championship hockey team right here to our beloved Danbury that you're going to meet. Not only that, but we have a state representative who's coming as we speak. He's screaming from the Capitol in Hartford, and he's going to come here and tell us how much all of our taxes are going to go up, because when the Democrats talk about revenue, they really mean taxes going up. But enough about that. I want to start the show with something that caught my eye. Hopefully we can get a picture of this. This young man is a native of Bristol, Connecticut. He was involved in the war in Afghanistan, where his Jeep that he was driving essentially had a bomb, an IED, go off where he lost his leg. But it was his goal to go back to his battalion of Army Rangers that were in Afghanistan at the time. He rehabilitated his leg. He was able to pass all the Army Ranger tests and go back and fight again. This young man is from Bristol, Connecticut. He's one of our own. And, you know, sometimes when I'm concerned about our country, what's the direction we're going, it's young men like this that catch my eye that are pretty impressive. A couple things that he had to do to come back. He had to, with an artificial leg, he had to be able to run 5 miles in under 40 minutes. He had to be able to hike 12 miles with a 40-pound rucksack in 3 hours. He had to parachute from aircraft, and initially worrying about the wind shear might pull off his false leg. This young man is worth Joe Kopesky. Joe Kopesky, originally from Bristol, Connecticut, is doing an incredible job out there. And Joe, I salute you and all the men that are fighting on our behalf for our freedoms and that we so richly enjoy here in the United States. So thank you very much, and thank you to all the men out there that are fighting. We just cannot tell you how grateful we are, especially as our president tells us we may be beginning to wind down in Afghanistan and Iraq. Job well done. Not that it's over, but you know, like the Navy SEALs we had on a couple weeks ago, we did get the big guy, bin Laden, and I couldn't be happier about that. But enough about that. Our guest, our special guest, is the newly minted head coach and, what is it, hockey operations? What's
Director of Hockey Operations.
Director of Hockey Operations. It's Phil Esposito. Thank you so much for showing up tonight and telling us a little bit about the Danbury Whalers.
Thank you, Marty.
You know, I've been reading some of the press clippings about it and so forth. What are you looking forward to? What kind of hockey are you looking forward to? And how are you saying that you want to bring a championship to Danbury?
Well, basically, we came within, you know, one goal in overtime last year of getting to the finals. We had been shorthanded a couple of players in that last Game 5 there against Brooklyn, and had we not lost a couple of the players that we, you know, relied on relentlessly mostly through the season, right. We lost those guys in Game 5, and we went into overtime with 13 players against the best team in the league. You know, and we basically stayed with them the whole game, and then, you know, we got an unfortunate bounce and we lost in overtime, and then they went on to the finals against the Akwesasne team, and then lost in the finals. But we believe that had we had won that game, we would have a championship in Danbury right now, because you know, we believe that we had a better team than the Akwesasne team. You know, because we had played them you know, all year long pretty good, and we had a pretty good record against them, and we knew how to beat them. But this year we got a pretty solid core of guys that are going to be returning, and we're going to change some things up compared to what we did last year, and we're going to bring in a couple of bigger and tougher kids, and we're going to play a little bit more solid, tougher style of hockey, something that Danbury's used to and that has had in the past. Yeah. I had the fortunate time that I spent a little bit with the Danbury Trashers when they had first started here. Right. You know, I got to know Jimmy Galante really well, and I got to know his son, you know, AJ, really well, and the coach that was here, Todd Sterling, was actually one of the kids that I lived with at prep school. When I went to the Salisbury School up in Litchfield, Connecticut. Yeah. Now you are
a Connecticut hockey program veteran.
Yeah, I came out of East Haven Youth Hockey. I went to East Haven High School for a short time, and then I left high school and I went into the Salisbury Prep School. And then after Salisbury, I went to West Point.
Wow. Hold on one second. Caller, you're on the air.
Hello.
How are you? Thanks for calling in. We have the new, well, he's not new to the fans of hockey in Danbury, but Phil Esposito is here, and he's the newly minted head coach of the Danbury Whalers. Do you have a question for him?
No, but I have one for you. What happened to your voice? You have a technical difficulty down there.
Okay. All right, well, I will speak louder. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, but you're not coming through the television.
All right. Well, thanks for the update. Keep watching, though. That's a friend of mine. He calls in periodically. He says that the voice isn't right, but I'm pretty sure it is. But thanks for the call. All right, so now when you say you're bringing tough hockey to Danbury, this team in Danbury, it originally started as the Trashers.
Yes.
And then it morphed into the Danbury Mad Hatters.
Well, yeah, it morphed into, after the Trashers, it turned to a team called the New England Stars, which I played for.
Okay.
Up in Danbury for a season. And then it went to the Danbury Mad Hatters, and then it went to the now Danbury Whalers for the last season, and we believe the next 10 to 15 seasons.
Really, it's going to be locked in the Federal Hockey League. That's the one.
Federal Hockey League is a very, very strong league. It's a very, very solid single A league now with the ownership and the teams that they've added and stuff, and the places they've added. It's going to be another rival to the Southern Professional Hockey League, which has now been in business for a number of years.
Okay. And you played there as well.
I played a little bit there. Yeah, I made my rounds through.
Yeah, I was looking
at.
As a matter of fact, if those of you at home, you want to have some fun, go on YouTube and just put in Phil Esposito. And once you get past all the ones from that Boston Bruin, who had a pretty good career himself.
Yes, he did.
Any relation, uncle?
No, I wish I was, because if I was, I wouldn't be here right now.
Okay. But you get that, and then you go down and you see Phil Esposito, and this guy had an incredible playing career as well. Played his college hockey at Army, that's right, West Point. Then teams like the Hampton Road Admirals, the Knoxville Cherokees, the Johnstown's Chief, the Dayton Bombers, the Jacksonville Bullets. You had a long time there. That was Jacksonville, Florida?
Yes, I played in Jacksonville, Florida.
And that was a league that you just talked about,
yes.
SUHL.
Yeah, the Southern Hockey League, which is now the Southern Professional Hockey League. I spent a lot of my time, though, in the East Coast Hockey League, which is a league above this. It's like more like a triple double A level, and this is single A. So I spent a lot of my time in the East Coast Hockey League, which was a double A level.
Now, that was one of the things. You said that there were 12 players from that have played on the Danbury Hatters that have sort of graduated to the East Coast Hockey League?
Yeah, last year we had 12 guys who got, I have a lot of influential people that I met and I know over my years of playing hockey, and guys who are friends of mine who I played with who are now coaching up in those higher leagues and things like that and stuff, and they truly rely on my ability to decide whether or not a player is ready or not, and, and every now and then they need a couple of players last year, and they called me, and I was instrumental in getting those players called up last year, and we had 12 of them last year, which was more than any team in the league. And then also 2 years ago I coached the Hudson Valley Bears in the Eastern Professional Hockey League, and we had the most call-ups in that league also too that I had, and we were in last place at the time, and I had the most call-ups.
So now, would you say? I mean, is that the average guy that's playing for the Danbury Whalers? And I've had a chance to get to know those. Al, I don't know if we have some of that footage, but if we can roll some of the footage of some of the games that we've been at. But the average guy, I mean, if you look in their hockey database, and you see where they played, all of them have had, some 4-year college, careers, not necessarily playing for, the Miami of Ohio or Colorado College or something like that, but they play on good college hockey teams, and then they go in and then they have these careers in the minors. Are you sort of a way station for guys that have bigger hockey dreams, or what do you see your role?
It's kind of a give and take situation there. I mean, we got a lot of guys who just love to play hockey. We have a lot of guys who have the ability to probably move up, and when you get to a certain age and you get to a certain skill level, it's not so much about your skill anymore, it's more about your will to make it, and your will to determine, how far you want to go, and you have to put the time in, you have to have the passion in order to get there. And that's what kind of where some of the guys are stuck there, some of the guys aren't, some of the guys are going to finish up their career here. But you got to do it, because once you hit like my age now, you just can't play anymore, and then it's truly over. So
yeah. So, I mean, but it's been really interesting. As I've watched these teams, see these players come in. You've had some native Canadians that came through and skated here in Danbury. And there's one thing about the Danbury rink and the Danbury team and the whole culture that comes along with the hockey program here is the attendance at these games and the enthusiasm. You even have fans that will travel to away games. I mean, it seems like the enthusiasm for the Danbury Whalers and this hockey program just dwarfs all the other teams in the league.
It does, and it's truly one of the best places to play minor hockey, minor professional hockey around. I mean, I've played at a lot of places. I played in Mobile, Alabama for a while, and that was kind of, it was one of those places that you just never want to leave because, I mean, when I played down there, it was like you were playing in the National Hockey League because most of the people down in Alabama didn't really know the difference between what they were watching on TV and what they were watching at the Mobile Civic Center. You know, but then you come to a place like Danbury, and all these people are hockey knowledgeable. They're all people who know hockey. They're knowledgeable about the game, and it's one of truly the only pro teams in Connecticut where I think the actual people from Connecticut support it, because we've had many hockey teams down in New Haven at the New Haven Coliseum. We've had baseball teams down in New Haven. We've had the Hartford Whalers, which are no longer here.
Yeah.
And they just, for some reason, people in Connecticut, a lot of the times they just don't put that emphasis around supporting it, and then they wind up leaving. But that's not the case in Danbury, and that's one of the reasons why I feel that me being here now, and I kind of have an obligation almost to bring a championship to Danbury.
All right, so you're putting your marker down there. You're saying that anything short of a championship, you're not gonna stand for anything short of a championship.
I'm the type of person that just sets my eyes on something and I just keep going until I get there.
Okay, caller, are you there?
Yeah, how you doing?
Good. You have a question for the coach?
Yeah, just want to know. It seemed like last year the team didn't really score with some of the other teams in the league. I just want to see where do you see the scoring coming from this year?
It's a good question. Thanks a lot. What about that? I would go to a lot of games, and it seems like sometimes you scored more goals on the road than at home. I don't know if that was a pattern, but where are we going to see our goals scored from this coming season?
Well, we have a lot of talented players on their way back. We're going to try and add a couple of more top-notch players that are going to be able to score goals, and we're also going to have a couple of dark horses, which are guys that kind of like played last year. Probably didn't get enough ice time and didn't get enough chance to develop properly, and I believe that some of those guys that we have are going to be guys that we might be able to move into those roles, and we're going to change up some systems and things like that. We're going to use some different forecheck systems this year, rather than just the one we had last year for the time being, and we're going to change some different things, and we're going to try some other stuff. But my philosophy is I understand that goal scoring is where you need to win, but you only need one goal to score if you can keep most of them out of your net. If you can keep the other team to 0, you only need one to win.
Okay. Are you going to go with that neutral zone trap? I mean, the New Jersey Devils won a couple Stanley Cups with that.
They really did, and it worked for Tampa.
Yeah, that's true. In this most recent Stanley Cup, for those of you out there, you had the Vancouver Canucks. I mean, people are excited about this hockey. They're dropping stuff. We had the Vancouver Canucks playing the Boston Bruins, and the Vancouver Canucks were like sort of the skill team. They had those Sedin brothers, and they were kind of, vaguely European, afraid to go in the corners. But the Boston Bruins had the will versus the skill, and who ended up with the cup?
It was Boston, and I've been on teams that have done that before. I won 2 national championships in juniors in Vernon, British Columbia, when I played out in the BC Junior Hockey League, and we didn't have the best team. We had just guys that were willing to lay their bodies on the line during the playoffs, and they were teams that were just willing to go through walls for the guy sitting next to them in the locker room, and that's what wins championships. And I believe that we have a lot of those guys here. We have a lot of guys coming back. We're going to fill a couple of spots where maybe we had a couple of guys that weren't willing to do that, and we're going to fill those spots with a couple of guys. And I believe I have the vision to see what we need and what we don't need to fill those holes in order to get us to where we want to be.
So now you can go to a guy, a recruit, says, you've got some hockey dreams. Let me just tell you, last year we had 12 players from here that graduated into higher leagues, and if you want to do something like that and you want to come here and make a difference, this is the opportunity, and that's going to attract talent.
It does, and like I said, I've been involved in these leagues for a long time, and I've been in and out of different places, and hockey players know where they want to be. And if you have a guy who has some decent talent and he wants a place to play and he's looking for a place to play, you know, the guys know, they do the research on the coaches and who's going to help them and who's not. And once that word gets around, it's kind of a little bit, you know, basic about what you're trying to do.
Okay, let me go through a couple players. Igor Karloff. Now, he's a bit of a heartthrob out there. He's got his own cheering section. For those ladies that are watching, he'll eventually go out to TK's afterwards or whatever the place is. He's a bit of the heartthrob. But he's a goal scorer. I mean, he seems to be one of the core guys on the team. He's
a very, very skilled player. You know, we had an opportunity to, you know, at the end of last season after our playoffs to get him called up. You know, for a short time. Unfortunately, he didn't get a chance to go because things didn't work out too well after the season was over for him.
So he's going to be called up to where? To
the East Coast Hockey League, to the Elmira Jackals.
Now, do you have a team that you're the minor league team for?
We did not last year. Right now we're in the process of negotiating with the Elmira Jackals of the East Coast Hockey League to try and get that affiliation nailed down for this season. Because the head coach of the new head coach of the Elmira Jackals now is one of my best friends named Pat Bingham, who coached in Bridgeport last year for the Sound Tigers. So he lost his job there in Bridgeport due to New York Islanders coaches shake-up. So he got the
Islanders are all shaking up.
Yeah,
I mean, they're living off those 4 cups a long time.
They're working on it though. They got a solid team down there. They got a lot of they have a lot of prospects that are really good prospects.
Would you sign a goalie for a 15-year contract? Isn't that what they did with the
DiPietro? Yeah, they did. I don't know what the problems was or whatever that was, the status was of that. But actually, Jack Capuano, who's the coach and the new coach of the Islanders there now, who was coaching in Bridgeport, is actually another good friend of mine. So, you know, with those relationships and stuff, you know, I have the ability to get guys to where they want to be sometimes.
All right, Corey Fulton. Now, he's one of the rougher guys on the team.
Yeah.
He's not afraid to drop the gloves and go at it.
Not afraid to fight at all.
And he's going to be back.
He is going to be back.
All right.
He's going to be one of those guys, like I said, and Corey did a lot of that last year. Corey's one of those guys who will, you know, if I tell him to go run his head through that wall over there, he'd probably go do it.
Really? Sheetrock, brick, it doesn't matter.
He will go do it. And if he can't do it, he'll keep trying until he does. And that's the kind of kid he is. And that's the kind of kid that wins championships. So.
Now, you know, you have a certain coaching style. Al, I don't know if we have that. You give a particular between-period speech. Do we have that queued up? What's that? Okay, let's do it. Now, but before we do, if there are small children in the room, or if there's any clergy watching, you may want to switch over to the, you know, some other channel. Small children should leave. If there's pets, animals, they should be safely secured. Because you're about to see Coach Phil Esposito in a between-period talk that would make Bobby Knight blush. If we can roll the tape, let's see what we got. Okay, we got to give him a minute. So in 30 seconds left.
Hopefully you can't find it.
Yeah, no, we'll see. I'm telling you. I mean, if you've seen the movie Slapshot, it's you know, somewhat comparable.
Who let you guys in the locker room, anyways?
I don't know. You know, I mean, this is the Danbury Whalers hockey. They let us in. We just pretty much act like we're in charge. You know, you get a camera and a microphone, they'll let you in anywhere. But I want to talk too a little bit about that. You know, it's interesting because I go to these games. There's kids everywhere. I loved it because it's like St. Pius IV Church Youth Group is there, and the priests are there, and all the kids are there. And then you guys, you know, you're out there skating on the ice, and all of a sudden you go to fighting, and the priests are yelling, "Get him, get him!" And the kids are all on us. What about this? Help my viewing audience understand this idea that, you know, at any moment in one of these games, the gloves can get dropped and guys are bashing their head in, and they're doing something on the ice that if they did it, you know, a foot over outside the rink, they would be arrested for assault or something like that. The most they get on the, you know, maybe a 2-minute minor, maybe a 5-minute fighting. But walk me through this idea of fighting as an integral part of the Danbury Hatters or the Danbury Whalers and just hockey in general.
Well, fighting has always been a part of hockey forever. I mean, it's just one of those deals where it's one of what I believe that makes the game so exciting, because you can be sitting there at the game, watching the game, having a hot dog, having a popcorn, having a beer, and then the next thing you know, the hot dog and the popcorn and the beer are all over the floor because you jumped up to watch this fight that was happening at center ice just out of the blue for no reason. I mean, it's just one of those things that makes the game so interesting, and I believe it's like hockey's one of the best sports in the world. I believe. I mean, I don't know too many other sports. I mean, you have baseball players that. You know, I believe any sport where you could play 2 games in one day is just kind of ridiculous. You know, I mean, it's just.
my son, I have a 22-year-old son who's played some hockey too. We joke about baseball players getting injured.
Yeah.
And one guy pulled a muscle sneezing, and you know he's out for a couple. He's going to get his ribs MRI'd or something like that. But you look at hockey players and you see what these guys go through the Stanley Cup playoffs, which I guess go 62 days and make it all the way.
Yeah.
And some of the things that I remember in Sports Illustrated, they had a picture of a guy and they kind of went by all the injuries and everything that they went through. Yeah. What is that about hockey players? They're just a little bit more tougher than some of the other sports?
I think so, because I mean it's one of those deals where I mean I've gone in, and if you look at my face in some different spots, you'll see that there's a lot of scars on it and things like that. And I've gone in and had 10, 20 stitches put in my nose and come back out in 10 minutes and played again.
That's the thing I love too. You know, they get 20 stitches and they don't even miss a shift.
I mean, I played a playoff game with a broken leg.
With a broken leg?
I had the small bone in the bottom part of my leg broken, and they taped it up, shot it with cortisone, and I played.
Wow. This is what he does between periods at the game. And again, if they're small children, have them leave the room. Go right ahead. See, we can't turn. Down team, the Danbury Whalers. They're going to be going to war again tonight. It's great family entertainment for the whole family. Reasonably priced. You get to see great competitive hockey, great seats available. You got to come on down. But tonight, on the Marty Heiser Show, formerly Ideas at Work and Beyond, we're going to take you in the locker room. You're going to meet these players up close and personal, and you're going to see one of the most competitive hockey you'll see in the entire New England states. This is Danbury Whaler hockey. We're going to take you behind the scenes. Come and join us. We are here with the legendary coach of the Danbury Whalers, Chris Frillo. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, listen, this is your last game of the regular season. You're gearing up for the playoffs. You're playing the New York Aviators. What do you expect about tonight's game?
Well, I think it's just going to be a prelim to what we're going to see next week, and I think both teams are going to go really hard. It's the last game of the season. We've seen them probably 16 times this year. We've certainly took it during the beginning of the year, and they've kind of owned us the second part of the year here. But it's not how you start, it's how you finish. So we're just looking to go hard, make a statement today, stay healthy. I'm sure they are too, and get ready for next Friday night.
Now, before the playoffs, at least in the NHL, they seem to want to make a statement. I see you have Corey Fulton in the lineup tonight. Sure. If it's going to get physical, are you ready for that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, we play physical all year long. I think where it's us and I think Aquasasti, the two top teams as far as penalty minutes went all year long. And, certainly Corey was probably, out of anybody in the league, the most feared guy when it comes to, policing the ice and the fighting part of it. But I think, like I said today, our goal was to go out there and play hard and execute, do all the little things well, work on our game, get prepped for next Friday. And, I'm sure it's going to be physical because there's always a lot of, tension between both teams. I mean, there's no loss of love between both teams here. So there's a lot of history. And so I think that, as long as everybody stays healthy and gets through today's game, just, again, use this as an opportunity to prepare for what's going to happen next Friday.
Well, I'll tell you, there's a packed house out there. It's really building. Talking about Corey Fulton, he actually had an added bonus last game. He actually scored a goal.
Yeah, it was outstanding. I mean, the kid's just worked so hard and just come a long way. And, I think that was his first goal of the year. And, he's a role player, right? So he's not there to score goals, but to be able to see him do that and achieve this first pro hockey goal after all the work that he puts in day in and day out was great to see.
Well, listen, we appreciate all this access, getting to see you talk in between periods, and we'll be here, and good luck tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, listen up, seriously. Guys, seriously, you got
want this. You guys want to have nothing else except a W at the end of the night. There's nothing else you guys got to want. A W going into the playoffs. Monday we start the playoff. We start practicing hard Monday for Friday, and we're going to do the same thing to them again next weekend than we do tonight. So tonight, I know it's been a long season, and I know a lot of guys on the guys on the other team, and everybody wants to be buddy out. It's one thing I can't stand is when you guys are talking to the other team in warm-ups and joking around. So hopefully you guys realize that right now, because it's not happening ever. From tonight on, it's not happening again. Everyone on the other team has got to be your enemy, and you got to the boards and hurt them every. If he's your brother, your best friend, I don't know who he is. Every time you hit one of those guys, you got to want to hurt him. All right. Now let's go out there. Let's the game quickly. 30-second shift. Dump it in. Take the body. Get off. Let's get everybody in the game right away, and let's take it to them. One. We did one tonight. We don't up the same way we did Aquasani last week. We don't. I don't care if we run the score 10-0. But let's tonight, and it's starting right now. All right. Come on, let's go now. Let's go.
Let's go. Don't go down to 2.
Anaconda squeeze.
Come on, let's go. Get them ready. Let's fucking go. Let's go. Come on. Here we go. Igor, get them ready. Let's go. Come on, boys.
Well, there you have it. It's not Little Leagues. Don't adjust your set. There's no problem with the audio on your set. There's just periodic beeps. Now, you know, President Obama has said we need to, win the future? Is that what it is? When, you know, WTF. And so you would have the same WTF except the, initials for something else in those locker rooms. Now, you're talking about in between periods where you're saying, you don't want guys. You might know them. They might be your brothers. But there's none of this fraternizing with the other team. There's none of this buddy-buddies thing in hockey. How's that work?
I've always been I've always had the attitude that when I'm playing a game that the guys that are wearing the other colored jerseys are guys who I want to kill. I mean, those are guys I want to hurt. Those are guys I want to beat, and that's the way it is. And it's unfortunate. I've been in many situations in my career, too, where I've been a roommate to somebody, and he got traded to the other team, and we happened to be playing that team that night. And we've gotten into, I had a roommate I had a fight with, who I was sleeping in the same apartment with a couple of days before that. So it's just one of those deals. I mean, what happens on the ice stays on the ice, and when the game is over, it's over, and all's forgotten.
There's actually a couple different sets of brothers that played together and against each other in the NHL. There was Eric Lindros and his little brother, and they almost went to blows. There was Eric Stahl and his brother. He checked him when he was playing for the Rangers and knocked him out.
There was the Sutter brothers for years. They all played against each other, and they had many fights against each other.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those deals where you have to want to beat the guy that you're playing against, no matter who it is.
But even so, we were talking about this earlier with the fighting and how if you had fights, if you went on the ice and you did that off the ice, you'd be arrested. But somehow there's sort of a self-regulating condition among the hockey players that it doesn't get too out of hand. Caller, are you there?
Yes, hi, my name is Steve. I'm from Brooklyn, and I live right by the Aviators. And I was wondering, Coach Esposito, what do you, when you used to play back in the EPHL days, you were a tough guy. And I was wondering, was there anything that you're going to do to the Whalers to make them tougher so that you can possibly compete with the Aviators?
Thanks for the question. It's a good question. I guess I wasn't an Aviator fan, but he does say you're a tough guy, and he's saying what you're going to do. And by the way, it was interesting because I was doing some reading about you, and here's just what one person said about you. It's good to see a complete lunatic is behind the bench at least Danbury will be tough again next year. I hope that the other 8 to 23 teams in the league next year get it and load up on toughness. There seems to be this anticipation that if you coach and you recruit like you played, there's going to be some toughness here.
Well, that's one of the goals. I mean, you can't have a whole team of guys that play like that because you won't win hockey games. You have to have a happy medium of skill plus tough guys, and a tough guy doesn't have to be that that typical guy that you see on TV that they call a goon and things like that and stuff. I mean, now that if you watch the NHL and things like that, there's guys who are very, very tough who can play the game, skate like the wind, and score goals.
Yeah.
So it's those type of players that we need, and that's some of the players that we have. I mean, we have a couple of guys that can fill that role with Corey Fulton and Devin Guy and Chris Clark as a defenseman and things like that. And we're gonna add a couple. Paul Yarnot's another one. Hopefully, if we can get him back, and we're gonna add a few.
Even those guys you mentioned, they score goals too.
Yeah.
Caller, are you there?
Hi, what's up?
Nothing much. We're talking hockey with Phil Esposito. Not that Phil Esposito. This is our own Phil Esposito, and he's going to be coaching.
I figured. Phil knows me very well. I have a couple of questions I want to answer real quick, Phil. Listen, you lose your best defenseman, Leland Fiddler. You lose arguably your best penalty killer in Lucas Schott. And then you lose a guy who can both score and throw the gloves down in Andrew Willock, 19 goals last year, and he was second in the league in penalty minutes. How do you replace the three guys? Thank you very much, Phil.
Excellent question. This guy knows what he's talking about. And by the way, I mean the fan base that you have in Danbury, these guys are avid fans. I mean they got guys coming with old Trasher jerseys. I mean this has been built up. These guys will be in the same seats every game, season tickets. I mean these guys are committed and they obviously know what they're talking about.
That's what I said. They're the most knowledgeable fans around, and they know their hockey, and they're dedicated to the sport and dedicated to Danbury. And this is, like I said, this is one of the reasons why I think that we have to get.
All right, but what about now? You're
Cup.
saying everything's great, everything's roses, we're going to win a championship. He's saying, hey, you got some holes.
Well, we got
What's
some holes.
your answer?
We got some holes, and we lost some players due to a league deal where we can only protect a certain amount of players, and we lost a couple of players. But right now, it's June. Let's not worry about that until September. I mean, we're working on some things. We may make some deals, and you may see Leland Fiddler and Andy Willock and whoever else the other person was that he said, Paul Yarnot, I think. You may see those guys back in Danbury.
All right. Now, let's just talk turkey here a little bit. The original owner of this team was a guy named Galante. And he had a little bit of trouble with some issues, and he's no longer with us for right now. But he poured a lot of money into this team, right? We were just looking at the locker room.
Well, he didn't put a lot of money into the team. He put a lot of money into the locker room and into the Danbury Trashers team that he owned.
Right.
That was, when he had started this program, he redid the Danbury Ice Arena. He added on the locker rooms and all those luxury skyboxes that are there. I mean, he was the one who was instrumental in paying and getting all that done. I mean, so a lot of this Danbury Whalers, Danbury Trashers, all this Danbury hockey stuff started from Jimmy Galante.
So, but
he's instrumental in getting hockey in Danbury, and he did an unbelievable job in what he did.
His son was continuing to run the team and is heralded and a beloved team. Yep. Now, do we have the same kind of guy that's putting money into this program now? And if we need the player, we can go out and get him. A George Steinbrenner, if you will.
We have two owners that are dedicated to making Danbury a positive, cash flow team type thing. And that's a big thing. I mean, you have to understand at the end of the day, this is a business still too. I mean, the Danbury Whalers team is a business. If we lose money and things in that sense, then we're not going to be here very long. So we have to be careful in what we do, and we have to try and toe the line in between, making sensible business decisions with players and salaries and things like that, and keeping the bottom line where it needs to be. I mean, we want to keep this thing going. We want to keep building, and if we can get up to the point where I think the Danbury Arena holds 2,500 people, if we can get 2,500 season tickets, then we don't have that problem with going out and spending money to get, but we got to take baby steps. It's a new league. We got to be careful. But, I think with the ownership that we have, and then, like I said, with me now being the coach and stuff, I think we can get that happy medium where we need to be, get a good team, get a good product on the ice, get a good team on the ice, and do some damage.
All right, now listen, in your mind's eye, and if I'm getting too personal, just, punch me in the head, because you probably could. But are you looking at this as a long-term commitment? I mean, do you have a 3-year plan, a 5-year plan, or if the phone rings and one of these bigger leagues give you a call and say, hey, we'd like you to come up, are you out of here, or what's your plan? You can be honest. We have a very compelling viewing audience. They can see right through you if you're not telling the truth. I'm
going to sit here and tell you I'm not going to lie. I'm starting here. This is my starting point now. I did this when I was a player, and I had a starting point, and this is my starting point now as coaching. Would I like to stay in Danbury and be here for a few years in order to get my resume, potential higher leagues and stuff interested in me, yes. And if I did get an opportunity to go coach at a higher league, I mean, it would have to be the right place and the right scenario for me, and then I would I would take a hard look at it. But this is the reason why I played. I played to move up and get as high as I possibly can, and you can't expect me not to change my ways now as being a coach. I mean, would I like to be a coach in the National Hockey League at some point? Yes.
And that's what you're. I mean, that is your career goal. That's what you're doing. This isn't a hobby for you. You're looking to make your bones here and bring a championship to Danbury. Is that right?
Yes. And the more championships you win, the higher you get.
All right. Now, we just had the Stanley Cup, and the goalie for the Boston Bruins, Tim Thomas.
Yes.
Now he's an American.
American born.
Had a similar situation to you. Journeyman, had a lot of games in the minor league, and he just hoisted the cup, so it can be done. Caller, are you there? Caller, are you there? Yes. Are you calling the TV show? Hold on, it's my wife. Hold on. Yeah, 2%. Okay, the cottage cheese with the. Okay, honey, I'm on TV, honey. I gotta. No, I'm sorry. Are you there?
Yeah.
Go ahead. I was joking about the milk. Do you have a question for the coach?
Yes, I do.
Now's your big chance. We'll just sit here and wait until you ask your question. Go ahead.
I would like to ask Espo what he plans to bring for the season and what everyone should be looking forward to.
Good question. What about that? And now, by the way, your announcement, where did they hold that?
At TK's.
TK's, there was like over 100
It was supposed
people?
to be at 1st and 10, but due to a bad storm / slight tornado, all the power went out at 1st and 10.
Okay.
And then they had to pull a Facebook announcement to change it to TK's at the last minute.
Okay.
And that's where it was. And yes,
is it true? Is it true that there were spontaneous chants of Espo that sprung out at TK's? Is that true?
Yes.
All right, that's what. So how does that make you feel?
I like I said, I've been around Danbury for a while now, and the fans here are unbelievable. They've always supported me when I was playing. They supported me last year as the assistant coach here under Chris, and now they're supporting me now as the head coach, and I'm not about to let them down. So.
And not only that, but you are a product of Connecticut youth hockey. You played your youth hockey at East Haven, was it?
Yeah, I played in East Haven youth hockey.
Then you went to some swank prep school and played hockey there?
In Salisbury School in Litchfield, Connecticut.
All right, and then, but again, Connecticut, then you went on to West Point, you went on from there. But what about the question from the caller? What kind of hockey are you, what can they expect? That's a good question. And sorry I snapped at you. I had a lot of coffee tonight.
It's what they can expect is they're going to be excited, and we're going to have we're going to fill that building on the home opener in October. There, we're going to try and Herm does a really good job, our owner, at doing all these different things. You talked about priests and churches and things like that.
Yeah, very big on that.
I mean, our Herm there, the guy who runs our team and is the owner of our team, he does a very good job in recruiting and doing those promotions in order to get people into the arena. And we're going to try and fill the building, and as long as the building's filled, and we're going to have a solid offensive-minded team. We're going to have probably the best 1-2 goalie combination in the league. Yeah. With Nick Nieder and Peter Vetri this year, and Peter's going to be here, full time. Last year he was kind of on and off because he was still in school. So he's going to be here full time with Nicky Nieder. We're going to have, like I said, the best goaltending combination in the league, and we're going to play good defensively. And I think all the fans are going to be very surprised what they see on the
When's the first game?
It's I believe it's sometime around Halloween. I believe it's October 31st or something like that.
October 31st. And how many home games are there?
Last year we wound up playing 50 or 60 games. I think 30 are home and 30 are away, something like that.
Wow. I remember when the Danbury Hatters just started, you had Mayor Boughton came out and dropped the first puck. And we are being joined by State Representative Dan Carter. Dan, thank you so much for joining us.
Phil.
Dan, this is Phil Esposito.
Welcome to Danbury.
Thank you, sir.
Well, officially, he's the head coach. He's been here for a while.
I've been here for a few years.
Yeah, and I just want to say the economic impact, and maybe you can talk to this a little bit, but the economic impact of having a minor league hockey team here, what it does to revitalize downtown Danbury and bring people in is just incredible. And Dan's going to give us a little update about what's going on in Hartford as well. But what has the impact of the Danbury Whalers been from your point of view?
Well, obviously, anything that brings people back into downtown and revitalize the area is great. And I think having somebody like yourself come over and pass the baton, a new head coach. I think that's a great opportunity for us to make some noise about what you bring to the city, because I'm sure Mayor Bouton's excited about it. Has he come out and done it? You see, he threw out the first puck this last game.
Yeah.
This season.
Yeah, he dropped the first puck, and you don't throw out.
That's right. You drop the first puck.
You drop a puck.
That's right.
You throw that. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump on you.
That's okay. No. Hey, actually, I have two questions for you.
Okay.
You played for Black Knights, right? Army.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
I am an Air Force Academy representative and an Air Force guy, but I still love that you were helping those guys out. And were you in Dayton as well?
Yeah, Dayton Bombers I played for down there in Dayton, Ohio.
My hometown.
Okay.
So when I was looking,
a small world.
It is a small world. I was really excited when I heard that about you. But having the opportunity to have a team like this right here in downtown Danbury is pretty amazing. Because right now we're looking for anything we can in this area to bring people in, get them to visit our businesses. We have a great downtown area, as you know, for the restaurants, and I think you guys
House theaters coming
House
back.
Theater.
Yeah.
I think you guys offer a lot, so I'm really excited to hear about it. And when I heard you were going to be here tonight, I want to make sure I popped in to say hello.
Well, thank you.
He's given us our update from Hartford. Can you see?
I would love to hear the update from Hartford.
Exactly.
Because I still have to pay tax in the state.
Oh, you're going to have to pay a little bit more. If Dan doesn't help out, you sent me that video clip of what we're up against, and we played that last week.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, we played it. All the concessions from the unions and stuff like that. But give us the latest. What's the latest? What's going on in Hartford? Wouldn't it be? By the way, just a thought, passing thought, and then I'll shut up. But in hockey, when things get really heated, at some point, they just drop the gloves and fight. Now, have you ever considered that in the Capitol, when you guys are arguing Democrats, Republican, if you could just, go in a corner, have it out a little bit, wouldn't that sort of clear the air a bit?
Doesn't that happen in some countries?
I think it does, like in Korea and stuff, or Japan.
Sometimes I wish it would.
Yeah.
Listen, there were many nights when I was on the floor of the Capitol at 1, 2 in the morning, and I'd listen to some of the stuff that being said on the other side, and I did. I wanted to drop my gloves in the bathroom. But,
I think it would be refreshing.
Yeah, it would certainly get me in the news.
You'd be surprised what you can accomplish when that happens.
Yeah, it clears the air. It really does.
I still have one more session to get through in my term, so you never know. But, from that aspect, it was really frustrating, obviously, when you see some things happening that you just don't agree with, and you put forth some really good ideas, and you get them shot down just because I'm a Republican. But with that being said, I made a lot of great relationships with people. I think that we have a shot in 2012 to make a lot of things happen, because I don't know anybody who's happy about the direction of our state right now. And you say the latest. The thing that's surprising to me, and I would have never believed it, is the fact that the union agreement has not been ratified. As you know, one of the largest unions just shot it down, and right now it hinges on a vote tomorrow. With the corrections folks as to whether this agreement will go through. I have been saying somewhat publicly, I thought it would go through because it's a sweetheart deal. There's a lot of good things that are good for the unions in this agreement. Right. If it doesn't go through, I'm going to be surprised. But if it doesn't, it sounds like we're going to be called back into session within the next week to start figuring out what the backup plan is.
So, I mean, in broad brush, the idea is that the new governor was going to come in and say, yes, we're going to raise taxes because we need to, times are rough, and, you guys aren't paying enough in taxes, so we got to raise taxes. But wait a minute, we're going to have some concession from these big, expense centers in the state, the unions and what have you. I know these guys, we've worked it out, there's going to be real great concessions, but you're saying that part of it's not happening necessarily, but the taxes going up sure is.
Well, there's a couple of big things that most of us have heard about that I think are happening. Number one, we had more surplus in this budget than anybody wanted to talk about. And I think you're going to hear more about that in the near future. I think in fact, tomorrow, there's some sort of finance meeting where they're going to come forth with new numbers with the revenue estimates. I expect those will be higher than what we projected. So now, with that being said, we have more money, and yet they raise taxes anyway. Yeah. That's the first thing. The second thing that's happened is, in this union deal, there was a lot of funny money. And the reason I say funny money is there was one part of this where they know they budgeted for about $180 to $190 million by creating an employee suggestion box. What they were going to do is get all these great ideas that were going to save money. The other thing was having a healthier workforce. Those two together are the tune of about $566 million. Now, obviously, these are things that you really look at and you wonder, well, are we really going to budget on that?
Right.
So those are issues, and among others. So, where we stand now, I think we're going to have to wait to see what happens with this union agreement.
Right.
A lot rides on that. If it doesn't get ratified tomorrow, the governor is going to be in a pickle. He's going to have to come back with some sort of backup plan. He claims he's going to lay off workers. We'll see what happens.
Hold that point. Phil, I want to thank you so much for coming in. If people are interested in getting tickets or doing anything, not that we're selling anything, we're not. This is purely public information. But there's a website for the Danbury Whalers hockey team. There it is, danburywhalers.com. First game is towards the end of October, and we're looking forward to great things.
Well, yes, thank you very much for having me here. We have a free agent camp coming up this weekend, June 24th and 25th, which is Friday and Saturday, down at the Danbury Arena. We're going to be there Friday until 6 o'clock at night, and then Saturday we're going to be there all day, and then we have our annual All-Star game Saturday night, which is this Saturday night. We're going to have a rookie All-Star game of we have 45 kids coming into town tomorrow. And the All-Star game is going to be Saturday night at 7 o'clock. So
wow,
it's going to be right in the Danbury Arena. So it's going to be something for people to come and watch and get a little hockey fix in June.
And that's good. Caller, are you there? Go right ahead.
Great episode so far. I was wondering, you did a great job with Phil, and now you have Dan on. What the heck does this have to do with hockey? Thank you.
The caller brings up a good point. We try to be very eclectic here, and we're going to take a break, and we're going to give you your full due. But thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it. Danbury Whaler hockey. Come out and see it. It's worth it. And we're going to take a break, and we're going to wrap up with Dan Carter. Thanks again for coming in.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay.
Give me a hell, give me a yeah, hell yeah. Stand up right now and give me a hell, give me a yeah. Stand up right now.
All right, welcome back to the Marty Heiser Show. We're pretty eclectic. The opening of the show, we say politics, sports, religion. There's just no end. But I'm telling you, when you have State Representative Dan Carter and he's going to give you a report, I just can't turn it down. But I want to thank Phil Esposito for coming in and all the Danbury Whaler fans. And having gone to a number of these games, I'm telling you, it's great family entertainment, and I just have a good feeling about this coming year. So we're going to try and do a lot of follow-up interviews, a lot of those interviews in the locker room between periods, and we'll get some more of his eloquence in those between-period speeches in the locker room. But I don't want to pass up the opportunity to hear from Dan Carter just what's going on in Hartford and what's it going to mean. Now, this is a question I have for you because I've talked to some people, and they say, you know what? People just don't care. people just aren't paying attention to it. It's like it's not that big a deal what's going on. What do you say to that?
I say they're right. I think there are a lot of people who aren't paying attention. You know, when it comes to being a state representative, there are a lot of people who, they've heard your name, but most people don't really know what their state representative does or what it means to the state. They certainly hear the press, you know, stuff in the press about what the governor's doing, about what's happening in the economy, but I don't know that they really understand the implications about what's happening. Now, I think in August, folks are really going to understand, especially those who are going to have more withholding come out of their paycheck.
Okay.
You've probably heard that because one of the taxes that went through was the increase in the income tax, and it was retroactive to January, which means over the last 5 months of the year, you're going to have folks be, you know, picking up that first 7 months in their withholding.
Right.
And I think particularly who are going to be hurt are teachers, because think of it, a lot of teachers, you know, the way they get paid, they get paid, you know, in one chunk of the year.
Right.
So I think they're going to actually have a real hit in their income tax withholding. So, you know, obviously things are really, really rough all over, and I don't know that people are paying attention.
What do you think? I mean, as far as the Republican Party in Hartford, do they have a snowball's chance in hell of holding back on some of this stuff, holding the line, or is it just the Democrats are going to do whatever they want? They have the governor's mansion, they have the House, they have the Senate. What can you do?
Well, I think to some degree, yes. I mean, they have everything. They've had everything for 20 years. You know,
we used to have the governor who would veto some of this.
But they had a veto-proof majority, and the question was whether they wanted to veto, whether they wanted to override that veto, I should say. But you know, they've had the power for a very long time. Now that the governor, you know, that they have the governor, it's not them having the governor. The governor, I think, is what's called the shots. In a lot of the things that have happened over this last session, I think a lot of those bills were driven by the governor and by the, you know, the governor's goals. Now, with that being said, did the Republicans have a chance? Yes and no. You know, what I found was, as a minority party in the legislature, you know, there's 52 of us out of the 151. What we found was, you know, towards the end of session, we maybe had more opportunities to drive the schedule. Because of being able to debate, being able to take, you know, a 300-page bill that's dropped on you in the morning and be able to debate it long enough that you can get all the garbage out, at least get it on record. So from that standpoint, I think we were very effective. I think that the minority leader, Larry Cafaro, does a great job at rounding up the troops. And even though we are all very open to vote the way we want to vote, it's about our constituents and our districts. But as a Republican team, you know, we were able, I think, to affect some change. Obviously, a lot of the big bills that the governor wanted through came through. The transgender discrimination bill that went through, basically that was what they were labeling the bathroom bill. You heard about that?
No, give me the highlights of that.
The highlight is, okay, on the good side of the bill, you don't want to discriminate against anyone. Well, race, creed, color, sexual orientation. In this case, it's sexual identity or identity expression. But the bad part was Republicans wanted to put something in there that would protect private spaces, like locker rooms, bathrooms. So now a man can dress as a woman and go in a woman's bathroom. That is a real problem for some people. Because it's, but we wanted to at least protect some private spaces.
Now, what about the legalizing marijuana? What happened on that?
It wasn't so much legalizing as decriminalizing was the word we used, because what it did, it took less than a half ounce of marijuana, so it's about a half of a baggie, and said it's like a ticket. It's no longer going to be charged as a crime. I personally voted against that, and I'll tell you why. As I went through the process and I learned more about it, among the big issues, you know, our effect on kids and things like that. Now that that's not a crime, if a police officer catches somebody with a half a baggie, they don't have probable cause to search that car to see if there are 50 more half a baggies in the trunk. Or a gun or coke or anything else. I think in a sense we're opening the door to some really bad stuff with that bill.
Now, is that the same bill that they have in California right now, where it seems like everyone has a backache and needs medical marijuana, and it kind of opens it wide up?
There were two bills that were being looked at. One was medical marijuana and one was decriminalization. Medical marijuana got killed. It never made it to the floor of the House. Made it through committee.
Seems like a bit of a loophole, doesn't it? The whole medical marijuana thing.
It is.
I mean, there's this movie out now called Bad Teacher, and it's the lady smoking a bowl in her car, and she says, "Get out of here! I need it for medical purposes," or something like that.
Well, California, it's not been good for California, and part of it's the way they run the program. I think there were some people who would have supported it here if it were terminally ill patients, number one.
Okay.
If it were regulated through pharmacies, not growing the plants at home.
Yeah.
That's been the big question in the marijuana bill, but it never made it to the floor.
Okay, so the one that was debated there, did it pass, or what?
It did pass. That was what we call the decriminalization.
Okay.
So now if you're caught with less than half an ounce, it is basically a ticket. Now, that's not if you're under 21, and I'll say that message to the kids out there. If you get caught with marijuana, you will get a citation, and it will go to the DMV,
right,
which you have a chance of losing your license. So that's important.
All right, so you've got one of these sessions under your belt. You're a freshman legislator there. What are two highlights? What are two lowlights for you? Was it what you expected?
Man, I get the question a lot. Was it I expected? And, I didn't know what to expect actually being there. I don't think anybody really knows until you jump in with both feet.
Right.
It was an amazing experience to be part of it. I really enjoyed it. It was frustrating, a lot of hard work, a lot of long nights, but it was really an amazing experience. As far as low light,
have you ever figured out if you were paid by the hour, how many hours you put in? And as a legislator, I mean, I don't mean to ask you personal questions, but how much do you get paid? It's not a full-time job.
No, it's not a full-time job.
You get 30 cents a mile for schlubbing there and back,
It's a part-time job. You get actually 50 cents a mile.
50 cents a mile? Well, yeah. But you're paying $4.50 for gas.
I think I made more in mileage than I did for the job.
Okay.
But it's a $28,000 a year job.
Okay.
So, no, it's
now,
not.
If you took 28 and divided by how many hours, you might be maybe minimum wage?
Not even. If you do it right. Now, there are a lot of folks there who don't read bills. There are a lot of folks who, they're just voting the way the party want them to, and I don't have to say who they are. But obviously, if you're paying attention and you want to do a good job, and you want to know what's in this legislation, it takes a lot of homework.
Wow. What are your highlights? What do you think, where you say, you're trying to have a life of significance, you went out there, you knocked on the doors, election night, wow, I won, this is what I want to do. What did you do?
Well,
how did you make my life better by going up there?
Well, you know what? I think a couple of things I did set us up really great for 2012, as I mentioned. One particular amendment, which I had come to me, this idea, was when the governor put forth an implementer bill, they put policy in it, which usually isn't done. The policy was letting people out of jail early who are criminals. Okay. You may have heard about that in the news.
Right.
Well, I opened up the can of worms on that because I put an amendment on it that said we will not let sex offenders out of jail early.
Okay.
And I have the majority of the folks on the other side of the aisle voting to let sex offenders out of jail early.
Wow.
That's not going to look good. And they did it just because I was a Republican. They voted against it.
Wow.
But that's what opened up the door to all the other bad stuff in that bill. So that was a lowly freshman which made that happen.
All right. Well, listen, thank you very much. Thank you for coming in.
It's good to be here.
Appreciate it. And again, I want to say thank you to Phil Esposito for coming in, the new head coach of the Danbury Whalers, and everything that's going on. Join us next week when we're having Suzanne Benton, a world-renowned artist right here from this area, who will be coming in, as well as, for those of you that speak Portuguese, the Brazilian community, Pastor Valseer, who speaks Portuguese, will be right here. So tune in for that. We'll see you next week. Join us on the Marty Heiser Show, where you always get the truth. Thank you.